Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Career Launcher. My name is Naveen, and let's continue with our series for MAH CET 2025. Today, we'll be looking at DI, and within DI, we'll be looking at the various types of charts that come in MAH CET. Okay, and for that, we will begin with the first, first set of the day. Also, we have not brought more number of questions per set, but rather what we have done is we have tried to cover as many varieties as possible. Okay, so the first set, the table shown below depicts price per kilogram at which 5 different farmers sell 6 different products. So if you look at the products are rice, wheat, jowar, bajra, maize, and sugarcane. And the farmers we have are P, Q, R, S, and T, right? These are the 5 farmers and 6 products. So P, actually, he sells. So these all are selling prices. So P sells rice at rupees 20 per kg. P sells wheat at rupees 18 per kg. P sells sugarcane at rupees 10 per kg. Similarly, if you look at Q, Q sells rice at rupees 15 per kg, wheat at rupees 16 per kg, and so on and so forth. So once you look at the table or whatever representation is given, and once you have understood what each cell denotes, then you should obviously move over to the questions, right? So the first question is, if each farmer sells 100 kg of jowar and 50 kg of bajra, which farmer will earn the most, right? So first step is you should not take 150. You should rather take the ratio of these two numbers. So if I talk about P, the amount of money that he's going to get, it's going to be 2 kg of jowar, which is going to be 2 times 16.5 plus 1 kg of bajra, which is 1 times 15. So 2 times 16.5 is 33. 33 plus 15 is 48. So instead of taking 150, I'll take 2:1. Reason being, the multiplication factor, or the value that we are multiplying with the prices as per the given in the table, it's going to be 2 and 1 for each of the farmers. So whether it is 2 and 1, whether it is 50 times of that, 150, whether it was 17 times of that, 34 and 17, doesn't really matter. Whichever is the largest will stay largest, whichever is the smallest will stay smallest. So the trick to do less calculation over here was to figure out the ratio of the quantities here. Let's look at R now. So R sells jowar at 18 and bajra at 14.5. So this is going to be 18 into 2, 36. 36 plus 40, 14.5 is 50.5. So right now we need to find out the most. So definitely A is not our answer. Let's check for S. S sells jowar at 20 and bajra at 13.5. So this is 40 plus 13.5, which is 53.5. Again, R is not our answer. If you look at Q, not O, it's going to be 2 times 15 plus 14, which is going to give us 30 plus 14, which is 44. So between S and Q, S is the largest. So C becomes our answer. Right? Okay. Next, if farmer Q sells 14 kg of wheat, 21 kg of jowar, and 30 kg of sugarcane, what will be his total earning? So if you look at the options, there are 2 options that ends with 9, 1 option that ends in 0, another option which ends in 6. So instead of doing the entire calculation, what I will do is I'll look at the last digit. If it is going to be 9, then only I will calculate it again properly. Otherwise, just the last digit itself will be, I believe, good enough for us to get the correct option. So 14 kg of wheat, so that is 14 into 16, 21 kg of jowar, which is 14 into 15, and 30 kg of sugarcane, which is 30 into 8. Now 14 into 16, it's going to end in 4, 4 into 6, 21 into 15 will end in 5, and 30 into 8 will end in 0. So this is the answer that will end in 9. So we are pretty sure answer is not C or D. Now, since there are two options, so now we will have to see whether it is close to 700 or whether it is more than 700. So 14 into 16 is going to be 224. 21 into 15 is going to be 315, not 5, 315. 30 into 8 is going to be 240. So if we add just the hundreds, we realize that the answer is going to be more than 700. So option B becomes our answer, right? So do you think this set is easy? And such kind of sets do not come in MAH CET? Well, the answer to the first question is yes, it's easy. The answer for the second question is no. These sets definitely do come in MAH CET. They are not tough. They're not difficult. Okay, next one. Total sale of Bengali and Odia newspaper in 5 different localities of a city. So the localities are given as x-axis. The legend is there. So we have got legend says the dotted ones are Bengali and the shaded ones are Odia. So in locality A, we have got Bengali to be between 7,000 and 8,000. So we'll prefer that to be 7,500, even though it can be 7,498 or 7,400 even, we are not sure. But the way it is drawn, we should always take it as midpoint. And if I look at Odia in locality A, we will see that it's around 5,500. Again, once you have picked one of the values or one of the attributes and checked what it means, and remember, this is the sales, right? We can look at the questions now. So the sale of Bengali newspapers in locality A is approximately what percent of the total sale of Bengali newspapers in all the localities together? So Bengali newspapers in locality A. So Bengali newspaper in locality A is 7,500. And the total sale of Bengali newspapers in all the localities together. So it's going to be 7,500. For B, it is 9,000. For C, it is 9,500. For D, it is 7,000. For E, it is 6,500. So if we add 500, 500, 500, that is 1,500. There is a carry of 1. So what I will do is I'll make this 6 as 7. So 7 into 3, 21. 9 plus 9 is 18. So this will turn out to be 39,500. So basically 7,500 is what percentage of 39,500, right? We need to calculate the percentage. So this can be solved in a lot of different ways, but what I generally prefer in such cases is I take the denominator and I calculate its 10%. 10% is going to be 3,950. If I calculate another 10%, that will still be 3,950. And if I add them, 20% will result in 7,900. Since we need a value which is supposed to be less than 7,900, so my answer should be less than 20%. So obviously B and A cannot be our answer. It's going to be one among C and D. But C says 11%. Now 10% is 3,950. 11% will not be 7,000, right? So it's rather closer to 20% rather than 10%. So 11 cannot be our answer. So only D makes sense. So you do not have to divide it properly to get to the right answer. You can do a bit of approximation. You can simplify the fractions, or you can use the method that I did. Find out the generic or simple percentage, 10, 20, 25, 50%, and then see where it should lie. Right? It makes our calculation way, way less, but the answer found becomes very quick, right? It's very fast. Let's look at another problem. The sale of Bengali newspapers in locality B and D. So Bengali newspaper in locality B is 9,000, and that in D it's 7,000. So total it's 16,000. Is approximately what percent of the sale of Bengali newspapers in A, C, and E together? Now, if you remember, the entire Bengali newspaper from A to E was 39,500. So if it is 39.5 thousand total, out of which 16,000 happens to be in B and D, so the remaining goes to A, C, and E, right? So we do not have to add again. What we can do is we can use the data from the previous question. So this is going to give us 23.5K. Question asked is 16,000 out of 23.5K is what percentage, right? Definitely it's not more than that. So 100% wala to gaya. Next, is it 68% or is it 84%, right? So what I will do is I'll calculate 50% first of all of 23.5K, which is going to give us half. Let's make it approx. It will make things faster. So इसकी ज़रूरत पड़ेगी नहीं if I'm going to do an approximation, right? So let's make it 24K. 16 by 24. They both are divisible by 8, so it becomes 2 by 3, and 2 by 3 is 66.66%. But my answer is my actual value in the denominator is not 24, it's 23.5. It's lesser than that. So my answer should be a little more than this. A little more, not 84. A little more than 66.66. So 68. Option C makes sense. Right? If you guys are able to understand, please write in the chat if you're able to understand. If you want me to do certain types of calculations where you are not comfortable with or you need a better approach, please write that as well. Another set. The pie charts given below show the details of 1,500 employees working in an organization in various scales. So the left-hand side pie chart tells us about breakup of 1,500 employees across these scales in terms of percentage. You did not add all the percentage, they will always add up to give us 100%, right? And if you look at the departments, sorry, not departments, scales, scale A is the highest, which is 22%, while scale G is the lowest, which is simply 8%. And then it is given breakup of 800 male employees. So out of 1,500, if we have 800 male employees, so obviously the remaining 700 are female employees. If you look at male employees, 24% of 800 is A type. That's the largest. And F scale is 9% of the 800 male employees, right? Now, the first question is, what is the total number of female employees working in scales C and D together, right? So what I will do is I'll pick scale C. In scale C, the total number of employees is going to be 19% of 1,500. Now, when you calculate values like these, 19% of 1,500, you should not multiply 90 by 100 into 1,500. Well, percentage always takes care of the two zeros, or it shifts decimal towards the left-hand side by 2 places, right? So this is going to be same as multiplying 19 into 15. Now, I'm not going to multiply 19 into 15. I'm simply going to say the last digit. Why? Because each option has a unique last digit. So it will save me a lot of time again. Now, from total, if I see how many male employees work in C scale, it's going to be 16% of 800. Again, ignore the 2 zeros. It's going to be simply 16 into 8, 6 into 8, ends in 8, right? So out of total employees, if these are male and these are female, this is total, this is male. So if we subtract, we will get the female. Now, 5 minus 8 won't happen. So what we will do is we'll take 15 minus 8, right? Which will result in a 7. Now, if you look at D, same. Total, it's going to be 10 into 15, which will end in another 5. If you look at male in D, it is going to be 11 into 8, which will end in again 8. And if we take the difference, 15 minus 8, it will give us a 7. 10% of 1,500, it's, sorry, it will end in 0, not 5. My bad. So 10 minus 8, this is going to end in 2. Right? Now we are supposed to find the total. So 7 plus 2 will end in a 9. So we will get 290. Now, could we have, I mean, was it possible to make it faster? Yes, definitely. See, if I look at this and if I look at this, and eventually we are going to add. So how about not calculating them individually, but simply take C and D together? If you look at C and D together for 1500 employees, this is what total employees we have, which is 10 plus 19. That is going to be 29% of 1500, which is 29 into 15, a number that will end in a 5. Right? Similarly, if you look at male employees in C and D together, this is going to be 27% of 800, which is 27 into 8. 7 into 8, it's 56, so it will end in a 6. Now, if you subtract, 5 minus 6 will not happen, so 15 minus 6 is supposed to happen. It will end in 9. So you can see that if we include both the scales together, as the question states, I'll have less calculation to do. It will be much quicker. If I do not calculate the exact values, but only pay attention to the last digit, my calculation errors are going to reduce by a lot. I do not have to multiply anything. I'll be able to solve and get the answer again much quicker. Right? Okay, let's look at the next problem. The number of male employees working scale F is what percentage of total employees in that scale? So if you look at scale F, the number of male employees we have is 9%, and the total we have is 14%, right? But it's just not 9% and 14%. It's basically 9 times 8 and it's 14 times 15, right? I'm not going to write percentage and 800 because zeros will cancel out. Similarly, 14% and 1500 won't make sense. What we can do is we can simplify this to a certain extent. So 3 into 3 is 9, 3 into 5 is 15, 4 into 2 is 8, 7 into 2 is 14. So this results in 12 by 7 into 5, 35. Now the thing is 12 by 36, which is 1 by 3, is supposed to be 33.33%. Since it's not 36, but rather 35, since denominator has reduced, so my overall answer should increase by a bit. If you look at the options, it should be not B and C, it should be either D or A. Now question arises, is it going to be 35 or is it going to be 34? Because we are asked to round off to the nearest integer. So if it is 33.9, it's 34. If it's 34.6, it's going to be 35, right? So rounding off, making an assumption, doing an approximation, it helped us eliminate 2 options. But now since 2 options remaining 2 are close, we'll have to make sure that we calculate it properly. So as we have done before, what we will do is we'll take 10% of 35, which is going to be 3.5. So 30% of 35, which is 3 times, it will give us 10.5, right? So we are basically saying 3 times of this. Now, what is going to be 5% of 35? Since we already know 10% is 3.5, so 5% is going to be half of that, which is 1.75. Now, if we add them, we will have 35% of 35. This is going to be 12.25, right? Our target was to get to 12. So obviously we should not check 5%. Right? So how much is going to be 1% of 35 now? Now 10% was 3.5. So 1% is 0.35. So how much will be 4% of 35? 4% of 35, it's going to be 1.4. So if we add these two, we will be getting 34% of 35 is equal to 10.5 plus 1.4, which is going to give us 11.9. Well, our target is 12. So it's going to be a little more than 34%. D makes sense, right? So out of all these 6 questions we have done so far, this one was the most calculative one or time consuming one. So when you're solving questions in the exam, if you're able to eliminate 2 options and there is not much time left, you can do a guesswork. But if you have enough time left, leave it as such. If you have some time left at the end, come back to this question and make sure that it goes correct, and then you can get the marks for this. Should not spend time in the middle. I know there is that inner devil in us who is like, if you have already attempted it, give it a couple of more minutes, get done with it. You should not, because how much time it's going to take, how close you are going to be, it all depends on your temperament. So leave such questions in middle, as in I will stop here, move to the next question and the next and next, come back to this in the end, right? Well, those were the 3 sets. So if you have any question regarding your preparation, regarding exam, regarding the types of questions that you should expect, please feel free to ask. And in case if you are watching this later, not live, you can ask the same queries in the comment section. Okay, we will get in touch with you. We'll respond to your query. Let me see if anyone has any doubt. Oh, no. Well, thank you everyone for being live, watching this video. Please make sure that you subscribe. So until next session, take care. Bye-bye.